Now, obviously, we've been talking about Sheku Bayoh recently as the inquest into his death at the hands of Police Scotland continues. We had heard early on how Sheku is alleged to have stomped on PC Nicole Shaw, who was a PC at the time but no longer works for Police Scotland. We heard about how aggressive Sheku was being and how much of a monstrous man-mountain the police claim him to have been, making them all fear for their lives. Well, it appears that medical professional Dr. Catherine Mitchell, the very first person to examine PC Nicole Shaw very soon after the incident in which the police claim she was stomped on and punched in the back of the head, observed no major injuries to her body. And Dr. Mitchell isn't the only doctor to have testified to this fact. Previous evidence at the public inquiry investigating Mr. Bayoh's death heard PC Ashley Tomlinson, who was also at the scene, say that he saw Mr. Bayoh punch PC Shaw in the back of the head before stomping on her back so hard that he thought she was dead. However, Dr. Mitchell, a specialist in A&E, referred to her notes from examining Shaw at the time, which said PC Shaw had no obvious injury on her chest and she had no chest pain, which included the back area. Dr. Mitchell had also noted PC Shaw's Glasgow Coma Scale score, a GSC, a method used for assessing the level of consciousness, as 15 out of 15 at the time of being examined, which she clarified means a patient is fully alert, fully orientated, their eyes are open, their speech is not confused, and they are able to follow instructions. Dr. Mitchell told the inquiry that the officer had no sign of a serious head injury, adding she was able to describe what had happened prior to the event, the fact that she had been chased, and that she remembered the fall itself, and she remembered putting her arms out to save herself, and then that she curled up into a ball, and was then lifted by one of her colleagues. If she had been hazy in her recollection, it's likely I would have written that down. There was a bit that she couldn't remember that would have been clinically significant, so it's likely I would have written that down. In her notes taken at the time of the examination of Nicole Shaw, Dr. Mitchell wrote that PC Shaw showed no sign of cranial nerve deficits, no double vision, no blood in the ears, and no C-spine tenderness. Forensic medical examiner Dr. Gillian Norrie also examined Nicole Shaw on the same day as the incident, but some 8 hours after, whose notes indicate that she had been told Shaw had been stamped on, but believes that information came from Shaw herself. Whereas, if you remember, Shaw said that she was told about this by colleagues and that she didn't remember herself. Angela Graham QC, senior counsel to the inquiry, asked Dr. Norrie, "There was no note of injury to her back, so does that mean you didn't see or find an injury to her back?" Norrie replied, "Yes." Angela Graham then asked, "Had you found any injury, bruising, marks, discomfort, tenderness? Is that something you would have noted?" Dr. Norrie replied, "Yes," again. Dr. Norrie said there was no obvious injuries at the time she saw PC Shaw, but she did tell the inquiry that's not to say that she couldn't go on to develop bruises. When asked about PC Shaw's neurological status at the time of examination, Dr. Norrie said if she was presenting after being hit in the head in a way that gave concern behaviourally, if she was irritable or inappropriate, drowsy, things like that would obviously prompt me to look at the GSC. But her GSC was 15 out of 15, so there was no concern about her neurological status. So an interesting turn of events for the inquiry. Still nothing at the moment that would indicate racism as such was involved, other than one cop who admits he was a racist, or one cop who was called out as a violent racist, but definitely information that would appear to be consistent with a potential cover-up in my personal view. Of course, my opinions are my own and are, as such, not based on factual evidence, hence being an opinion. But there is nothing to base racism on yet. However, I am keeping an open mind, but it would appear that what I said yesterday about the police seemingly more likely to cover up for one of their own using excessive force rather than all being racist is currently holding far more water than the racism claims. But we'll see. As I say, I am all for being proved wrong, providing there is evidence to suggest otherwise. The inquest continues, and I will bring you more information as it becomes available.